All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jordan Bain. My guest tonight is Verla Wade. This podcast is called Unveiling. And tonight we're going to be discussing healing. We're going to be discussing healing and Kabbalah. These are some of my favorite subjects and also some of my guest Verla Wade's favorite subjects. So she was one of my first Kabbalah teachers and mentors back 10 years ago in Boston. And I absolutely love her. She's been an instrumental person and teacher and mentor in my life for the last decade. And she lives out in Seattle, Washington. She's joining us tonight to discuss all these topics and to share her wisdom with us about healing and Kabbalah. Right now, she is an international trainer on the Modern Mystery School World Teaching Team. She works with the Life Activation and Universal Kabbalah at the core of all of her work. She's been providing these empowerments for many years. Her primary focus when she's working with either individuals or groups is personal empowerment, transformation, fulfillment, and successful application. Verla's gift as a Kabbalah teacher is to awaken the ancient teachings within each individual, making them pertinent to the complexity of our modern daily environment. She assists each student with understanding, application, and integration of the Kabbalah into their personal life. So Verla, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Welcome on the show, and I'm really excited to have you as a guest.
So great to be here with Jordan and to see you.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you would like to say about yourself and introduce yourself before we get started?
Oh gosh, well, I love Kabbalah. It's one of my key loves in life. You know that.
Awesome. Absolutely. Great. So we'll dive in. So, Verla and I met before the show, and we really honed in on just a few questions that we want to focus on tonight. So Verla, I'd love to start out asking you, what is healing and what is the essence of healing as a concept? It's a big deal for a lot of people. And I think you have a lot of amazing things to say about this.
Well, the mystery school would say, the modern mystery school would say, in quoting Israel Regardie, that all healing is self-healing. And because of I'll explain that here in a minute, but because of our focus on Kabbalah, I want to dive a little bit right into Kabbalah and talking about healing. Kabbalah would say that lack of health is a result of separation from the divine.
Mm.
Now, let me explain that. So, Kabbalah is a path of profound transformation. And the fruit of this transformation, the result of this transformation, is to awaken to our life in such a way that our former lives seem like sleep in comparison. So, Kabbalah helps us bring about the ultimate healing of the human soul.
Mm.
And and thus Kabbalah is above all a means of joining with the divine. So in order to maintain health, or many people find themselves in a situation of regaining health, and I'm talking about true health, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, it's all going to be achieved either by in the maintaining union with the divine, or regaining will be reunion with the divine. Now,
Mm.
I want to rush to say, because I'm not as familiar with your audience as you are, don't uh, don't be put off by talking about the divine right now, because
Mm.
like I said, Kabbalah brings about the ultimate healing of the soul. And to make this a little bit more practical, I'll come full circle to where I started. All healing is self-healing. So it's like, whether you're a healer of other people, it's still about self-healing. And
Mm.
I would then, I would then, you know, I would then restate that as, well, so what is self-healing? Well, how I would state that is becoming the best possible version of yourself as compared about with yourself this lifetime.
Amazing. I love that definition. Yeah. So that's a little bit about healing. Let's talk about one of our greatest loves, Kabbalah.
Yeah.
So tell me about Kabbalah. I mean, of all that, like, you were one of the first people to really introduce me to the real depths of Kabbalah and what Kabbalah can do, and taking souls on that journey through the tree and watching how you work that, and realizing that I really want to be a Kabbalah teacher, which now I am a certified Kabbalah teacher 10 years later. Amazing, 9.5 years later, whatever it's been. And it's, this journey of Kabbalah, like, just tell us about it. What is Kabbalah?
Well, I have a couple things that I always like to say about Kabbalah, and you probably know them by heart by now. First of all, Kabbalah is a vast metaphysical system of thought and action. with action being the key word here.
Mm.
Okay, it's not going to be just about gathering knowledge, particularly in the universal Kabbalah, the way the mystery school teaches it. It's going to be about taking that knowledge and integrating it into your day-to-day life to assist you in accomplishing what you're here on the planet to do this lifetime.
Hmm.
The other thing I like to say about Kabbalah is it's the original system out of which every other system evolved. And I think the simplest conversation about Kabbalah is the way I love to refer to it is as the instruction manual for life. I mean, I was in my first Kabbalah class back in 2001, and I was there for about 2 months, and I went, oh my gosh, here it is. I've been looking for 40 some years for this, and here's the instruction manual for life, right? So when you translate the word Kabbalah, it means to receive or that which is received. And and when we talk about receiving in terms of Kabbalah, what we're really talking about is having it all. So then it's really important for each of us to know ourselves well enough to know, well, what is the all that I need to have health or prosperity or fulfillment or joy or fulfill my contract? What is it? What is that all for me? And Kabbalah is about having it all, to receive, to
Hmm.
have it all.
Yeah.
So that's Kabbalah. So Kabbalah is the system. And then behind the system, just like behind me, is is the glyph or the map of the system called the tree of life.
Mm.
And it represents the system of Kabbalah. Now, Kabbalah, as well as its map, is a living, evolving system
Hmm.
that is encoded at the very core of our DNA. And as you know, our DNA contains the blueprint of who you are. And for everybody that's familiar with Jordan's work, or the work of the life activators in the modern mystery school, you'll know that we almost always start with the life activation, and we're activating the DNA. And that's because we're activating this system into you, inside you, at the core of who you are, to start awakening it so you can be much more effective.
Hmm.
Now, this map is the map to the inner and outer treasures of self-knowledge and your understanding at all levels. And as such, it really provides the foundation for life. So that's a
Hmm.
little bit about Kabbalah and the tree of life.
Awesome. What would you say the essence of Kabbalah is in terms of, you just said something to me that I think is really fascinating. So many people, especially this year with COVID and people asking deeper and deeper questions, a lot of people have been, holed up in their apartments or houses or with their close friends or family, whoever they live with now for months and months and months. Some people are back to work. Some people are not back to work. Some people are out of work. And so many people want to know, I think, about the foundations. What are at the foundations of life? What is the essence of Kabbalah?
Well, there's so many ways to look at the essence of Kabbalah, and I would say that the essence of Kabbalah is the study of life. Okay,
Mhm.
it's the study of light. It's the study of source. It's a study of creation. And so then we have to start. We can't really do justice to Kabbalah without talking about the creator.
Mhm.
And so it's a study of creation, the creator, God, source, however you want to term that. It's also
Yeah.
the study of love. So those are just the cliff notes, the really simple cliff notes of what the essence of Kabbalah is. But if you would, if you're okay, I'd like to go into it a little bit deeper.
Please. Yeah.
Um, one of the terms that I like for Kabbalah, Kabbalah, the way the mystery school teaches is an alchemical process.
Mhm.
One of the things that resonates with me the deepest is that Kabbalah is a spiritual technology. So
Mhm.
we could look at it a couple of ways. We can look at it as a spiritual technology, a spiritual science that's that's thousands of years old, right? Or we could also look at it as the original business plan for your life.
Mhm.
Either one of those are an accurate perspective. And whether you call it a technology or a business plan, what 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 Kabbalah is, or what it contains, is the world's oldest religion. And
Mhm.
Kabbalah itself reveals both the mysteries of life as well as the mysteries of the universe. And so it explains in detail both the physical and the spiritual laws that govern human existence. So that's quite a technology or a business plan, right?
Yeah. I love that definition of it. And it's something where, you know, Kabbalah, I know for myself, Kabbalah has given me everything I've ever developed as an adult. I first started taking simply Kabbalah class 15 years ago, 15 years ago now. And then when I met you and I first hosted you in Boston, I started, leading the study groups and really getting so much deeper into like, not just being a student of this, but really, if you want to learn something, teach it. And so, and before you can teach Kabbalah, you have to apprentice at certain different levels and do all sorts of different studies. And, just watching the souls of these people go through the tree of life and seeing how they would heal and seeing what they would bring forward from the depths of their psyche that they didn't even know was even there.
Yeah.
And then the choices that they would make. And something you said to me many years ago when we first met about Kabbalah was, it's showing people, I don't remember exactly how you said it, but basically you were saying something along the lines of like, it's showing people the choices that they made that they didn't even know that they made.
It's so true. And, when you look at some famous Kabbalists, I'm going to do some name dropping here if you're good with that.
Absolutely.
Like Pythagoras studied Kabbalah,
Mm-hmm.
and he was also a mystery school initiate in the lineage of King Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Isaac Newton's personal copy of the Zohar, which is the principal text of Kabbalah, now sits under glass at the Oxford University. And he was also a mystery school initiate in the lineage of King Solomon. And then Gottfried Leibniz, who introduced calculus to the world, considered Kabbalah the blueprint to reality.
Mm.
If we look at the philosophers of the Age of Enlightenment in Europe, they found a pure foundation of long lost ancient wisdom within the Kabbalistic teachings.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you're saying is true, and it's been true for thousands of years. And today, what most people find working with Kabbalah is that, Kabbalah has a life of its own. It's a living, evolving system, right? It's the original system out of which every other system evolved, both religion and philosophy. And so, what most people find when they work with Kabbalah is that Kabbalah has this intelligence that wants us to soar in our lives. It wants us to have our health, our joy, our prosperity, our fulfillment to soar along with us while we're soaring in life. So they go hand in hand. You don't separate fulfillment from you progressing as a spiritual adult,
Right.
in life.
No, absolutely. And, Kabbalah is something that it really does allow us to have it all. It really does give us each of those spheres. And we don't have time to go into like what all the different spheres are and the pillars and the different triads on the tree, but every level of the tree has its own unique intelligence. Like the tree has its intelligence, and then every level, every sephira on the tree, every sphere on the tree has its own way that it brings us to a unique type of fulfillment. And really, I love the alchemy analogy because alchemy is about bringing things to their final perfected state of being, in which they're no longer corruptible, in which they can no longer decay, their highest state, right? And anything that has not yet undergone the alchemical process is always subject to decay. It's always subject to the physical laws of this physical world, which are cycles and generation and regeneration. But when something really can go all the way, and then it becomes this, it's a different, like Kabbalah transforms our lives into a different substance. So
Yes.
what is it that you personally, I'd love to hear this because I don't know if I even know this, even though I've known you for 10 years. What is it that you most personally love about Kabbalah? And that could be a personal thing for you in your life, or it could be something that you love seeing in your students.
Well, it goes all the way back to when I first started studying Kabbalah.
Hmm.
And and there's about 5 things that I really, really love in Kabbalah. And it reveals, when I tell you this, it reveals a lot to you about me. So
Awesome.
maybe the number one thing is that Kabbalah says right up front, there's more than one way home to God.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than one way home to reach enlightenment, illumination, ascension, however you choose to refer to this, there's more than one way home. Now, I found that so comforting because when I came across Kabbalah in the mystery school, I'd been looking for, I didn't realize it at the time, I didn't have words for it, but I'd been looking for what I'd call today sustainable spirituality.
Yeah.
And Kabbalah is inclusive. It includes everybody. Nobody's excluded because of their belief system. And I love that about Kabbalah. I just love it.
Right.
The second thing is that it helped me personally be much more effective in life. When I started studying the Kabbalah, I was effective in corporate and business in my life by anybody's standards. And yet I don't know about you, but I knew that I hadn't even begun to hit my stride
Mm-hmm.
and that the clock was ticking. Like I said, I was about 45, 46 years old when I first started studying Kabbalah, and I knew the clock was ticking. And so in a short period of time, Kabbalah helped me be much more effective in my life. And the reason Kabbalah will do that, and I see that doing it for everybody that ever comes into the 10-month Universal Kabbalah class series, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can hands down guarantee if they just show up to the 4 classes and
Mm-hmm.
show up for the final weekend, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be significantly improved in the ways they want improvement in their lives. It's just hands
Yes.
down, right?
Yeah.
And then there's things they can do to enhance that, right? Because what you put into it, you get back, right?
Yeah.
So how Kabbalah, at the core of how Kabbalah does that, is that it shows us, probably in the most respectful way any system I've worked with, it shows us where and how we're blocking and stopping our own progression. And then once we see it, it
Mm-hmm.
co-facilitates our empowerment so that we can adjust and change to receive the result, to achieve the results we desire.
I love how you're saying that. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the third thing I really love about Kabbalah personally is that it helps us achieve clarity. And while we're achieving clarity, it helps us integrate our heart and mind. I call that heart intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Kabbalah is really good for integrating us into the heart intelligence, particularly us in the Western world who who have so much focus through education on the mental.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth reason is it, and this was really important to me too, because like I said, I was 45 or 46 and the clock was ticking and I knew I hadn't begun to hit my stride yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Kabbalah sheds light on what our life purpose is and helps us then create avenues to fulfill our destiny. So literally, it helped me clarify my life work and then do the work on myself so I could get out of my own way
Mm-hmm.
and so that today I'm achieving my destiny versus limiting myself.
Amazing.
And the final thing I like about Kabbalah, and it's probably one of the top two, is just simply it works.
Mm-hmm.
It works.
Yeah.
And I
Every
really like
single time.
that every single time.
Amazing. So what I'd love to ask this. What drew you personally to become a Kabbalah teacher? I mean, maybe it's all those loves and maybe you just answered that. But if there's anything else that you would want to say to people, like what was that moment for you when you realized this isn't just something I'm studying that's benefiting me in my life, but this is something I want to share with other people? What was in that decision or moment or guidance or whatever, what was that for you?
You know, a couple of things. It's a great question. A couple of things. First of all, I'm a firm believer that we're moving into the next phase of the planet. We're
Mm-hmm.
moving into what the mystery school calls the new paradigm. It's been called Shambhala by the Eastern religions, Return to the Garden by the Western religions. I think it's basically all the same thing. We're moving into the next phase on the planet, the new paradigm. And it's kind of the place where metaphysics meets quantum physics.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to need to happen is that a quantum number of people on the planet, which is a very small number, need to be fulfilling their life purpose, need to be fulfilling their destiny. Because we know now metaphysics has taught this for thousands of years, and quantum physics is teaching this today. We know that when a certain number of a population reaches a point or an understanding, it's a short period of time, relatively short period of time, when the whole population follows. So, so I have known for a while that part of my work is to bring everybody along with me, and
Mhm.
part of my work is helping us deliver us into this next phase, the new paradigm. And when I found Kabbalah, I went, this is the answer. This is the tool. This is the fastest way for people to understand what their life purpose is and learn how to get out of their way. Easiest, quickest, fastest, most painless way to work with the subconscious and the negative ego that constantly bites us in the behind until we truly know ourselves. And then not only does Kabbalah help us know ourselves, it gives us the tools to do the work that needs to be done. So I think,
Yeah.
that's Kabbalah just really helped me get traction in my life in a short period of time. And I thought, man, if it can do this for me who did life by resistance, don't tell anybody I said that.
I
It can
think you just told
certainly
the
help.
world.
I know it can certainly help. It can certainly help almost everybody else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings me to something else we discussed earlier, which is, what would you say the most important role is that Kabbalah plays in the life of an initiate? Because Kabbalah is never really the first step in this mystery school path. Someone has to do the life activation first, then they have to become a mystery school initiate, and then the door is open for them to take Kabbalah. So, anyone watching this might or might not be initiated, but before they're going to step into Kabbalah, they're going to step into initiation. So
Mm-hmm.
as an initiate, what's the most important role that Kabbalah plays in the life of an initiate?
Well, as you know, in the mystery school, we use Kabbalah um, for a couple of main reasons. And one of them is to know thyself. The main one is as a tool to really get to know yourself and who
Mm,
you are. And in the knowing of myself and really knowing myself, I have to come face to face with what some of the modern technology is, or conversation is about the shadow. We would refer to it as the negative ego and the
mhm,
subconscious. So I have to literally come face to face with what's stopping me, what's blocking me. How do I block the light? How do I block the flow in my life?
mhm,
How do I block my divine destiny, if you will? And Kabbalah helps us uncover that. And like I said, the most respectful way I've ever seen. And I like to refer to it as Kabbalah helps us see where we play below the line.
mm,
When things aren't going well, or when we get up against it, or challenged, what is our slippery slope? How is it that we tend to lose the light, right? Or lose the right way, right? The good way. And
mhm.
Kabbalah helps us understand that about ourselves, and then make decisions to course correct.
Yeah. One of the things I think that most always struck me when I was doing Kabbalah with you, which I did for many years, several times in Boston and again up in Toronto, when you were co-teaching, um, that Kabbalah is one of these things that it's so essential in the life of, at least in a mystery school initiate's life, and potentially in the life of anyone who, because you need to step into that path first before you can do it, that brings a person to spiritual maturity.
Mhm.
And I'd love to hear you share a little bit more about, like, what is that process of spiritual maturity for people, and why is it so essential? Because it's something that I think, I kind of like had to get beat over the head with it for a few years to be like, oh, that's what Verla is talking about. What seems maybe so simple to me now seems so elusive and difficult the first few years when I was really studying Kabbalah more deeply. So I think, now as a Kabbalah teacher, I look at that and I have the perspectives I have on it, but you've been doing this twice as long as I have. And I'd love to hear, like, from your wisdom, what what's going on there, like with spiritual maturity and Kabbalah. Like, what do people need?
Well, when to talk about that, I have to refer to the tree of life that's behind me.
Yeah, let's do it.
And so let's do that.
Hmm.
Let's divide this tree of life into a couple basic sections, and let's look at that
Hmm.
yellow circle at the center. It's called a sephira, or a sphere. That yellow sphere at the center there behind me. You're seeing one of my cats here. She's joining. This is
Help with teaching.
yeah, this is Cleopatra here. That yellow sephira at the back at the center is Tiferet, and Tiferet sits on the heart. So I'm going to use that as kind of a,
Hmm.
a reference point. At the top of the tree is a white sphere. It's Keter, and at the bottom of the tree is this sphere that's got four colors: olive, russet, citrine, and black. This is Malkuth, the kingdom. It's where we live our physical life. So these four circles here, and that whole body of the tree of life that sits below this yellow sphere, this whole
Hmm.
bottom part
Hmm.
is involves a very interesting aspect. It involves the physical life. It represents the personality and the lower self. And it's linked to the forces that involve searching for an awakening to more than the physical existence. So, what I mean by that is, the first thing we do in a spiritual journey is we wake up and we realize that there's something more than this physicality.
Hmm.
And as we wake up and we realize that there's something more than this physicality or this physical existence, then we start to hear the calling, and we realize that there's something that we're here to do that's special. And we even start to realize, and this started happening about, let me see, I've been doing this for 20 years now. Oh, I would say about 15 years ago, worldwide on the planet, everywhere I went teaching Kabbalah, because I started teaching Kabbalah internationally 15 years ago. I would say that people started saying, I know I'm here to do something special and I don't know what it is, right? And that's planet wide, and has been planet wide for about 15 years. So that's part of that waking up. That's part of that waking up experience. And that's part of, I'm hearing the calling. I'm hearing that I have a life purpose or a life destiny beyond what I'm doing. What I'm doing now is just prepared me, getting me ready for this life purpose, this destiny. And so we do this waking up process down here in this lower part of the tree. Okay. And that includes so much, because it includes the negative ego, it includes the subconscious, it includes how we participate in life. So as we
Hmm.
wake up and we realize there's something more, to the extent that we wake up, we realize that, oh my gosh, I'm in my own way. If I look at myself and can tell myself the truth, I'm in my own way and I'm stopping my own progression. Okay. Well, Kabbalah, and so most people then, if they're serious, they go to therapy or counseling or something like that, right? And what the value of that is it gives us a new language. It gives
Hmm.
us a way to identify with what's happened, to do some, it gives us some tools, it gives us some healing, to identify with what happened. The challenge is that so many people rest there.
Hmm.
They get the new language, they get the new understanding about why I do what I do, and that's enough.
Hmm.
But that's not enough,
But they don't
because
really change it.
that doesn't really change anything. I've got some new language. I'm better, most likely, hopefully, but
Hmm.
I'm getting more sophisticated too, because I'm explaining to you why I'm the way I am. Okay. Well, Kabbalah says that's not enough. And this is what I started just getting really psyched about in Kabbalah, because then what Kabbalah will do is it keeps going. And so then the four spheres above this golden sphere behind me, they represent, so this lower part of the tree represents the personality that I just talked about. The upper part here, these four spheres with that one sphere in the center here, but so it's kind of looks like five on this tree. This whole box here, excluding the very top one, this whole four box here of spheres represents the individuality, or who I am becoming. And this is linked with becoming involved in higher service or fulfilling our destiny. So then at the top of the tree is Keter, where God is made manifest within us. And now coming back down the tree at the very center here that I've been kind of circling around is Tiferet, beauty and harmony, which sits in our heart. And Tiferet, beauty and harmony, which sits in our heart, is where when we move from the lower part of the tree and the personality and the negative ego and the subconscious and what blocks us into the higher part of the tree, which is the individuality in our higher self. This involves moving now into spiritual maturity. So at Tiferet, that transition place right at the center of the tree, is where something comes into play called the threefold sacrifice. And it's not something to be afraid of. In fact, it's something to welcome, because the threefold sacrifice is about recognizing, because of the work I've done below in the lower part of the tree, recognizing what's no longer serving me. And now I'm so ready to be done with it, to be over with it, to shed it. And so the threefold sacrifice is about releasing what needs to be let go of, so I can truly move in to my spiritual maturity and my higher self. And that's an interesting conversation in itself, because I know people on the planet, and there's people on the planet documented for thousands of years living here in the physical body from their higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's a level of achieving the destiny that most people don't even think is possible. And
Yeah.
Kabbalah offers that to everyone with diligence and application.
I think
So,
probably a lot of people even watching this show are thinking, that's not possible. It just sounds nice. I
well,
mean,
I'll say it's absolutely possible. And I
yeah.
will say to you that it's going to take a little bit of diligence and application and
Mhm.
consistency, because you know what you're dealing with is the negative ego. And the negative ego never goes down without a fight.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't want to relinquish control, right? So as you start to move into the higher self and who you are becoming, who you're intended to become, the negative ego doesn't want to lose control.
Yeah. Can you say more about the nature of the individuality? Just because I think a lot of people, we all have some orientation. If we're on a spiritual path, we all have some orientation to understanding the lower self, because it's what we've known. But for a lot of people, especially those students who haven't yet stepped into a program like the Universal Kabbalah, they haven't had that, what we would call like a face-to-face meeting with their God self yet. The individuality is very conceptual or ephemeral or almost out of reach. So I'd love to hear what you might want to share about whatever inspires you to share about the nature of the individuality.
Well,
Kabbalistically speaking or otherwise.
Kabbalistically speaking, one of the promises of Kabbalah is that it'll awaken the spiritual aspect of you so that you feel closer to your service to the light, which means aligning with your purpose. But in order to align with your life purpose or your destiny,
Mm-hmm.
you have to awaken to this spiritual aspect, this individuality. In addition to that, one of the other promises of Kabbalah is that Kabbalah will set forces in motion that otherwise have been dormant. And these forces will change your life so you can achieve your highest potential. Now, these dormant forces that I'm referring to here, because I'm using Kabbalistic terms for you,
Mm-hmm.
are the gifts that you have on board. And I like to refer to them because they're the gifts to your greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like most of us are intimidated by them because we hold them at arm's length. We hold them way out there.
Mm-hmm.
And we go like, I know I have this, but I don't even want to talk about it, because if I talk about this destiny that I know I have, it just feels like so much ego, right? And I don't ever see how I'm going to achieve it, so I'm not even going to talk about it. So we hold it out here at arm's length. But
Yeah.
I very seldom, Jordan, do I talk to anybody that doesn't know about this destiny. They
Right.
know it's there. We're just kind of intimidated by it or afraid of it, and I think, speaking for myself, I knew that the destiny was there. I just had no freaking clue how to get from where I was in corporate And
Right.
that matrix version of success to what I was going to be or supposed to be doing
Mm-hmm.
internationally outside of the matrix, right?
Right.
And Kabbalah just really helped me do that. So that's a part of moving from the personality into the individuality. And the
Mm-hmm.
individuality is that blueprint that we each hold within our DNA that Kabbalah activates. The longer we work with
Mm-hmm.
it, the more Kabbalah it activates within us. And of course, Jordan, you have some healings that help with that too, and some activations that
Mm-hmm.
you can do. That that blueprint is activated for the individuality, and we become. I guess a great way to talk about it is we become the best possible version of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again, it's something that hearing you talk and putting myself in the seat and the shoes and the eyes of people who might be seeing this, it sounds, and I remember this years and years ago, it just sounds fantastical. It sounds like, wow, wouldn't that be amazing if I could. And Kabbalah, something just reflecting that I love about it, it's like a ladder that you can climb to actually get there. So you don't have to get there all at once, because we can't get there all at once today, tomorrow, even maybe even in 1 year. We have to climb that ladder, and we climb it again and again in the mystery school. And each time we really refine in a huge way what's transpiring inside of us. And then at some point, at least for me, that destiny didn't seem so far away anymore.
Yeah.
It was within reach.
Well, as you know, it's very difficult with it's very difficult in the mystery school system to even be accepted as a Kabbalah apprentice, to
Mm-hmm.
apprentice to be a Kabbalah teacher, yet alone to become a Kabbalah teacher. And part of that is because it's a whole language to learn. But the
Mm-hmm.
other part of that is, from my perspective, and as you know, I'm one of the trainers. From my perspective, we have to be a representation of what the system can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in other words, I mean, we have to be walking our talk. Now, as long as we're human, we're going to have a negative ego. As long as we're human, that's part of being human. We're going to make mistakes. And what Kabbalah teaches us is how to live large, how to sail our ship in the deep waters, because that's where life happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how to make a contribution to others while we're doing that.
Amazing. I love how you say that. And it's so true. I never knew how I would accomplish all of my life goals. And Kabbalah has literally been the system, along with all the initiatory steps in the mystery school, to do that
Yeah.
seamlessly, 100%,
Mhm.
1,000%,
Yeah.
totally integrated.
And for me, I'll add something else. As for me,
Yeah.
and you've watched this happen, the minute or not the minute, but as I actualized what I thought I was going to do here this lifetime, a whole new, a whole new contract opened up, a whole new
Absolutely.
level of service opened up that I didn't even dream of. So it's
Right.
like, it's kind of like, well, maybe that was me keeping that gift at bay, right? I wouldn't
I,
even.
I can't even imagine. I mean, there's so that's a whole other podcast of,
All right.
yeah, not even the time for it right now, but that's those next level contracts that you're working with now are just amazing, and so far outside of the realm of even possibility, I think, for most people, that Kabbalah could be a system through which we could actually climb into a destiny that we literally never even imagined existed.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, Kabbalah is multiversal. It's not just universal. It's not just galactic. It's multiversal. And so it literally will help you actualize to the depth and breadth that you're willing to actualize.
Yeah, it's amazing, totally mind-blowing that it's all possible. Yeah. We're getting close to the end of our time here. So I'm going to look at my list of questions that you and I came up with here together and ask that one juiciest last question, and then we'll wrap up in a few minutes.
Okay.
Um,
Give it to me, baby.
so Tell me about Kabbalah. Okay, how about this? Tell me about what excites you about the future of Kabbalah in context of what the ancient teachers of Kabbalah hoped for in terms of Shambhala, in terms of what because Kabbalah is also is a system of so many things, and we can't go so deeply on a podcast like this about real teachings of the Kabbalah. Like we can't really go into things that can only be taught in a classroom setting, but in person with keys being handed down. But you know, there's so many times and phases on the planet when Kabbalah has come to the forefront. And can you share what you see in the future with Kabbalah and what you hope for with Kabbalah in context of those ancient teachings?
How much time do we have?
We have a few minutes left, like 5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Okay. Well, first of all, really quickly, Kabbalah is a system that gives us some ultimate things. First of all, understanding ourselves. Second, understanding our life, our purpose, our destiny, and how to engage in it. Understanding what stops us and blocks us. And then the ability and motivation to move beyond all obstacles to become enlightened here in the physical. We've been referring to that, right? And that's why Kabbalah is so helpful in terms of healing. But more in line with what you asked, and I'm going to go through this really quickly. Kabbalah and the tree of life is a blueprint for all of creation, as well as, like I referred to, this ultimate business plan, if you want to look at it that way, analytically.
Yeah.
So, and Kabbalah will tell us that there's a plan that's been ingeniously created and devised for each person on earth. And it's not simply about being wealthy or powerful or famous. It's far more profound. The purpose for this plan is for each person to be the creator of his or her own universe, to become the cause in your life and not the effect of it. So this means being a proactive creator of your destiny rather than reacting passively to each new episode of drama or chaos that comes along, including, not that it's not real, but including COVID-19, which is a worldwide pandemic. And it means that if your life is a business, then you're the boss and not the lackey, right? So Kabbalah suggests that you're here because you're meant to be here. It might even say that you asked to be here, which is kind of out there. You mean I chose to be here in this world of suffering and pain and chaos, and then I forgot it all? Well, yeah, that's not so hard to believe, because we can't even remember what we had for lunch last week, let alone the 9 months of bliss we spent in our mother's womb, let alone the cosmic womb we lived in before we got here and this physicality. So Kabbalah would say that we came here in order to experience what it means to be a creator, and that you chose to become a hands-on participant in the construction of your own life. Kabbalah calls it your own paradise, called Malkuth, or the kingdom. And in addition, you didn't want to have the family business the way the family is running it. You wanted to earn it, because you knew that only in earning and learning would you find true fulfillment. So I think that that's one of the most exciting things about Kabbalah in today, is that it helps us become the creator, the co-creator. It helps us become proactive versus reactive. It helps us handle whatever life's throwing at us and work it into evolving to the next level.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else that you want to say about Kabbalah and the future of humanity?
You know, Kabbalists and the Kabbalah itself believe that the joy, fulfillment, health, thriving, and vitality is the essence of living a life true to your purpose. And that true health and vitality and thriving and wellness comes from the joy of being in service, which is all about fulfilling your life work, your life destiny, your life plan. And that's what I'd like to close with. And Kabbalah is just the number one tool that I've come across in my, actual 69 years to help do that. It works. And it's worked for me, for thousands of people in all parts of the world, even teaching through translators. So
Amazing. Awesome. We are at a close. Thank you so much, Verla, for coming on tonight and sharing about healing and your experiences and the Kabbalah, and having this beautiful Kabbalah poster that people can gaze at as we're talking about this subject. So
here it is.
yes, it's great to meet Cleopatra online as well. Awesome. Well, I hope you have a wonderful night. And to all of our audience, thank you for tuning in and watching. Again, this podcast is called Unveiling. My name is Jordan Bain. My guest tonight has been Verla Wade. Tune in next week for more amazing interviews and content. So thank you again. Have a great night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you so much.